Rob Warner and his girlfriend Lily were on the brink of their dream wedding. After years of relentless hard work, Rob had ascended to the position of CEO in a multinational company, earning him millionaire status. Their life was a picture of success and happiness. Friends and family admired their bond, and the couple seemed inseparable. As the wedding date approached, the excitement in the air was palpable. Rob balanced his demanding career with planning the perfect ceremony, ensuring every detail reflected their love. However, amidst the joy, little did Rob know that an unexpected event at a California shopping mall would soon shake the foundation of his seemingly perfect life, introducing secrets that threatened to unravel everything he held dear. Rob Warner's rise to the top was nothing short of remarkable. From humble beginnings, his dedication and strategic mind propelled him to become the CEO of a leading multinational company. His success brought not only wealth, but also respect and admiration from peers and competitors alike. At home, Rob enjoyed a blissful life with Lily, whose unwavering support was his anchor. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and deep affection, making them a power couple admired by many. Despite his busy schedule, Rob always found time for Lily, cherishing every moment they spent together. However, the pressures of maintaining his empire and the responsibilities of impending marriage were beginning to take a toll, hinting at challenges lurking beneath the surface of their perfect facade. One sunny afternoon, Rob and Lily decided to take a break from their hectic schedules and visit a bustling California shopping mall. The mall was a hive of activity, filled with shoppers, vibrant stores, and the cheerful hum of holiday preparations. They wandered through the various shops, enjoying each other's company and the vibrant atmosphere. As they approached the elevator to go to a higher floor, Rob noticed the joyous faces around them, feeling grateful for their life together. However, the serenity was abruptly shattered when Lily's foot slipped on the polished elevator floor. In a split second, she lost her balance, and the world seemed to spin out of control as she fell to the ground, leaving Rob in a state of panic and fear. The sudden accident in the elevator left Rob in a state of shock. Lily lay on the floor, visibly shaken and in pain. Without hesitation, Rob rushed to her side, checking her for injuries. The gravity of the situation hit him instantly. This was a serious fall. With urgency, he lifted Lily carefully and rushed her towards the nearest exit, navigating through the crowded mall to get her the help she needed. His mind raced with worry, torn between ensuring her safety and managing the immediate crisis. As they exited the elevator, Rob flagged down a passing mall employee and insisted on taking Lily to the hospital immediately. The incident was a stark reminder of how quickly life could change, even amidst moments of joy and success. Rob and Lily arrived at the hospital in a whirlwind of fear and urgency. The emergency room was a flurry of activity, with medical staff moving swiftly to attend to incoming patients. Rob placed Lily on a gurney, explaining the situation to the doctors who immediately began assessing her injuries. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as they waited for updates, the sterile environment heightening Rob's anxiety. He paced nervously, unable to sit still, his mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Meanwhile, Lily was stabilized and moved to a nearby room for further observation. As Rob finally received news that her injuries, while serious, were manageable, a temporary sense of relief washed over him. However, the ordeal left him physically and emotionally drained, unaware that a more personal and unsettling encounter awaited him outside the hospital walls. As Rob left the hospital, feeling the weight of the day's events, he decided to take a moment to breathe. Driving back to his penthouse, he reflected on the near tragedy and the gratitude he felt for Lily's resilience. However, as he approached his building, something caught his eye. In the parking lot, he saw a familiar figure, his ex-wife, Margaret, walking hand in hand with a young boy who looked to be around a year old. The sight sent a jolt through Rob's heart. Memories of their tumultuous past and their divorce 2 years ago resurfaced, mixing with confusion and disbelief. He couldn't shake the thought that Brian, the child he was now seeing might be his son. This unexpected encounter planted a seed of doubt and curiosity that Rob couldn't ignore. Rob drove away, the image of Margaret and Brian haunting his thoughts. At home, in the solitude of his penthouse, he couldn't focus on anything else. The idea that Brian could be his son gnawed at him, despite the divorce and lack of communication over the past 2 years. Rob revisited the timeline of events, trying to recall any moment that might have led to Brian's birth. Questions swirled in his mind. Why had Margaret kept this a secret? Could he have unknowingly fathered a child? The uncertainty weighed heavily on him, disrupting his peace and happiness. That night, sleep eluded him as he wrestled with these troubling thoughts, feeling the foundations of his life begin to shake. The next morning, Rob tried to shake off the lingering doubts and focused on his work. However, the sight of Margaret and Brian replayed incessantly in his mind. Determined to find answers, Rob decided to reach out to Margaret. He called her number, but his calls went unanswered. Frustrated and desperate, he left voicemails, hoping she would return his call. Days passed without any response, increasing his anxiety. Lily noticed Rob's distracted behavior and asked about his sudden change in demeanor. Rob dismissed her concerns with a lie, claiming he was swamped with a business trip to Dallas. Lily, though concerned, trusted his explanation, unaware of the turmoil brewing within him. Rob continued to maintain the facade of his supposed business trip, convincing Lily that he would be away for a week. In reality, he was grappling with the possibility that Brian was his son and trying to uncover the truth about Margaret's silence. Balancing his professional duties while searching for answers became increasingly difficult. Rob's behavior grew more distant, affecting his relationship with Lily. She began to sense his unease, but couldn't pinpoint the reason behind his emotional withdrawal. Meanwhile, Rob's obsession with finding out the truth intensified, leading him to seek help from Margaret's cousin to obtain her address. The lies he told Lily weighed on him, adding another layer of complexity to his already troubled state. Rob's determination to uncover the truth about Brian led him to Margaret's cousin, who provided him with Margaret's current address. Heart-pounding, Rob drove to her apartment, hoping to finally get some answers. Arriving at the building, he felt a mix of anxiety and resolve. Summoning all his courage, he knocked on Margaret's door, unsure of what to expect. After a tense moment, Margaret opened the door, her expression a blend of surprise and wariness. Rob stepped inside, trying to keep his composure. He needed to know if Brian was indeed his son and why Margaret had kept such a significant secret from him. The confrontation that followed would force both of them to face their past and the unresolved emotions that still lingered. Inside Margaret's apartment, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Rob took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "Margaret, we need to talk about Brian," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Margaret looked him up and down, her eyes wary. "Brian is only my son, Rob," she replied firmly. Rob felt a pang of hurt and confusion. "Why didn't you tell me?" he pressed, desperation creeping into his voice. Margaret's demeanor hardened and she stepped back, distancing herself physically and emotionally. "Because our divorce was complicated enough without adding more drama," she retorted. The room felt smaller as Rob realized how deep the wounds still ran, and his resolve to uncover the truth only strengthened despite Margaret's refusal to open up. Back at his penthouse, Rob couldn't shake the confrontation with Margaret. The words echoed in his mind, fueling his doubts and fears. Alone in the vast, empty space, he pondered the possibility that Brian was his son. Memories of his relationship with Margaret resurfaced, reminding him of happier times and the reasons behind their separation. The more he thought, the more unsettled he became, unable to focus on anything else. The night was long and restless, with Rob lying awake, haunted by questions and uncertainties. He knew he had to find definitive answers, but Margaret's resistance made the path forward unclear and fraught with emotional turmoil. Rob's obsession with finding out the truth about Brian began to consume him. He spent countless hours researching, revisiting old emails, and digging through past records in an attempt to piece together any clue that could confirm Brian's paternity. His work performance started to decline as his focus shifted entirely to this personal crisis. Friends and colleagues noticed his distraction, but Rob dismissed their concerns, too fixated on uncovering the truth. The strain began to affect his relationship with Lily, who grew increasingly worried about his well-being. Despite the mounting pressure, Rob felt a relentless drive to solve the mystery, pushing himself to the brink in his quest for answers. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Rob decided to take more drastic measures. He reached out to mutual friends and acquaintances, hoping someone might have information about Margaret and Brian that could shed light on the situation. However, most were hesitant to get involved, either respecting the boundaries set by the divorce or fearing the repercussions of stirring old tensions. Undeterred, Rob continued his search, feeling the urgency to confirm his suspicions. His efforts led him to hire a private investigator, a professional who could approach Margaret's life more discreetly and uncover the truth without the emotional baggage Rob himself carried. This step marked a significant turning point in his pursuit, blending professional help with personal determination. The private investigator returned with the results of the paternity test, confirming Rob's deepest fears. Brian was indeed his biological son. The confirmation was a double-edged sword. Relief and joy mingled with the responsibility and uncertainty of re-entering Brian's life. Armed with this undeniable evidence, Rob felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew he had to confront Margaret once more, this time with the truth in hand. The investigator also provided insights into Margaret's struggles over the past 2 years, highlighting the hardships she faced alone. This information deepened Rob's empathy and determination to make things right, paving the way for a heartfelt and honest conversation with Margaret. With the paternity confirmed, Rob felt a surge of hope and determination. He reached out to Margaret again, requesting another meeting to discuss Brian's future and his role in their lives. This time, he approached the situation with more empathy, understanding the emotional turmoil Margaret had endured. Rob expressed his genuine desire to support her and be a part of Brian's upbringing, promising to make amends for the past. Margaret was initially hesitant, still wary of reopening old wounds, but Rob's sincerity began to break through her defenses. She agreed to consider his proposal, allowing Rob a glimmer of hope that they could rebuild their relationship for the sake of their son. Rob and Margaret began meeting more regularly, each encounter bringing them closer to understanding and forgiveness. Rob took the initiative to listen to Margaret's experiences over the past 2 years, acknowledging the pain and struggles she had faced alone. Margaret, in turn, saw Rob's genuine remorse and willingness to support her and Brian. Their conversations were filled with raw emotions, gradually healing the old wounds that had kept them apart. As they started to communicate more openly, Rob felt a weight lifting off his shoulders, and Margaret found solace in Rob's presence. The foundation of trust and cooperation was slowly being rebuilt, setting the stage for a new chapter in their lives together. As Rob and Margaret continued to interact, their relationship began to transform from strained and distant to cooperative and supportive. Rob made consistent efforts to be present in Brian's life, attending school events and spending quality time with him. Margaret appreciated Rob's dedication and began to see him not just as an ex-husband, but as a father figure willing to make a positive impact. Their mutual respect grew, allowing for more meaningful conversations and shared responsibilities. This gradual building of trust created a more harmonious environment for Brian, who thrived under the attention and care of both parents. The family dynamic was slowly shifting towards unity, fostering a sense of belonging and love. One evening, as Rob was driving home after a long day, he spotted Margaret and Brian crossing the road. The sight filled him with joy, but that joy was short-lived. Suddenly, a speeding car lost control, barreling towards them. Instinctively, Rob slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Without thinking, he leapt out of his car and lunged towards Margaret and Brian, pulling them away from the oncoming vehicle. The impact was jarring, and Rob felt a sharp pain in his head before everything went black. His heroic act had saved Margaret and Brian, but it came at a cost. Rob was gravely injured and unconscious. Rob awoke in the hospital, disoriented and in pain. He saw Margaret and Brian sitting beside his bed, their faces filled with concern and relief. Memories of the accident flooded back, and he struggled to piece together what had happened. Margaret held his hand tightly, tears in her eyes. "You saved us, Rob." "Thank you," she whispered softly. Rob tried to speak, his voice barely audible, but his body was too weak. The severity of his injuries became clear, and he realized the gravity of his actions. As he lay there, the bond between him and Margaret deepened, understanding that their shared experience had forged a new path for their relationship and their future together with Brian. During his recovery, Rob reflected on his actions and the journey that led him here. Determined to mend the broken pieces of his past, he mustered the strength to speak to Margaret. "I'm so sorry for everything, Margaret. I never meant to hurt you," he said earnestly. Margaret looked at him with a mixture of emotions, pain, relief, and understanding. "I know, Rob. You saved our lives today, and that means more than words can express," she replied gently. The sincerity in Rob's voice and the gravity of their shared ordeal opened the door to forgiveness. Margaret decided to let go of past grievances, realizing that their focus needed to be on building a harmonious future for Brian. With Margaret's forgiveness, Rob felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years. The road to reconciliation was still ahead, but this pivotal moment had bridged the gap between them. Rob and Margaret began to work together more closely, focusing on providing a stable and loving environment for Brian. Their interactions were filled with mutual respect and a shared commitment to their son's well-being. As Rob continued his recovery, he found solace in the renewed connections with Margaret and Brian. The trio started to spend more time together, slowly weaving their lives back into a cohesive and supportive family unit. The future, once clouded with doubt and uncertainty, now held the promise of healing and unity. The culmination of Rob's relentless pursuit of the truth and his heartfelt apology led to a harmonious resolution. Margaret, having forgiven Rob, handed Brian into his care, symbolizing a fresh start for their blended family. Rob felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment as he embraced Brian, knowing that he could finally be the father he always wanted to be. The past struggles and uncertainties had been overcome, replaced by a future filled with hope and unity. Rob, Lily, Margaret, and Brian now stood together as a united family, ready to embark on a new chapter of their lives. Their journey had been fraught with challenges, but love and forgiveness had ultimately prevailed, ensuring a happy and peaceful ending for all.